good.
Hey, welcome into episode 64 of the Unusual Suspects podcast. My name is Rob Gargiulo. I'll be your host this evening. Thank you for joining us. Vincent Oshana will not be joining us this evening, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't stick around and watch tonight's episode, because if you do leave, you're going to miss out on some fantastic stories that we have in store for you, including Kelley is going to be covering the latest update with Joe Biden and what's going on. He was, just a few days ago, he stated that he would drop out of the election and running for president as the Democratic incumbent candidate if some type of medical issue happened. And then mysteriously, an hour or two later, he was diagnosed with COVID-19. Very odd. Connor will be updating us on everything that happened at the RNC, including speakers that were in attendance, the activities that were going on. Humberto is going to be talking about the ramifications of civil war, and he's a guy who has lived not through, but almost through, because the countries that you were living in almost broke out into civil war. So you've got good expert insight into what a civil war would look like and how to protect yourselves. Brandon, we've for some reason been ignoring your topic, and I'm sorry. The past two podcasts we did not get to it, but I am very excited to cover black budget military weapons?
Yeah, missing $35 trillion. So where did it go?
Just like, remember when there was money, trillions of dollars missing just days
after 9/11?
Before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld announced $2 trillion missing, and then 9/11 happens the next day, and then we never talk about it again.
Same missing money, but just now it's 35 instead of 2.
Well, and
so stay tuned.
Yeah, and I will also cover weapons, but in a different capacity. We're going to cover the possible second shooter that was involved in the assassination of Donald Trump. If you have seen eyewitness reports coming out the past couple of days, there have been people who were at Trump's rally on Saturday speaking with the press, stating that they saw a second shooter. And then yesterday, some footage came out which allegedly shows a second shooter. We will show you and we will dissect. But first, if you are not on Minect, take a look at this QR code that Jeremy's going to show you right now. Thank you to Jeremy in the back. There it is, Minect. There's me. You can connect with me and Minect with me for all of your SEO needs. If you have topics for the podcast, guests that you think would be interesting to bring on, or you're just lonely and want to chat, scan that QR code and Minect with me. Our other unusual suspects on today's podcast also on Minect. Let's see who else we have here. There is Humberto, so he can help you. He is, by the way, the head distribution coordinator at Valuetainment. He calls himself the distribution dictator. But if you have any questions about content creation, podcast growth, Minect with Humberto. There is Connor. He is VT.com. So if you take a look at the articles that are on VT.com, they are written by Connor. So if you have any news tips, stories you think would be a great deep dive for Connor to dig into, Minect with him today. Brandon, also on Minect, future president of the United States of America. Woo! Brandon is the head researcher here at Valuetainment. So if you have any questions about anything, more than likely he has dug into it. So connect with him on Minect. And of course, our lovely producer, usually behind the scenes, but today she is on camera, Kelley Ann Arnold. You can connect with her on Minect for any of your podcasting needs, whether it's producing a podcast, distributing a podcast, creating graphics for podcasts, search engine optimization, script writing, whatever it may be. Kelley, you can connect with her right there. And by the way, part of the reason why you want to join Minect and start Minecting today, currently underway, is the Minect League Championships. Your chance to do a meet and greet, win a meet and greet with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at the Vault 2024. Best way to get in and be a part of that, sign up for Minect today and start Minecting, and you could meet Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Patrick Bet David at the Vault 2024, the West Palm Beach Convention Center in September. Let's roll right into the first story, and the first story is going to be Connor and his updates from the Republican National Convention, which took place and just concluded in Milwaukee. Connor, what do you have?
Yes, so today I am going to pose a question to all of you, using some content from what we saw at the RNC. Is it time that the Republican Party made its big tent a little bit smaller? I would like to know your feedback on this based on what we're about to see. So, as we know, RNC is going on in Milwaukee right now, and the Republican Party has always prided itself on being, like I said, the big tent party, the group that anybody can join. Anyone can get in as long as you share conservative values. that, align with whatever the party happens to stand for that year, which is usually what the Democrats stood for 10 years ago, but that's neither here nor there. So they laid out their platform, and now, as always, the convention is wide open. They want people from all walks of life coming in to participate in this thing they call American conservatism. But my question, and the question a lot of people are asking after seeing this last convention, is, have we opened that tent up a little bit too much? Is there some stuff coming in now that doesn't necessarily align with what the party actually stands for? I want to go over some of the clips we have seen so far and get your feedback on that to see if, we as, people who tend to lean a little bit more conservative on things can reach some sort of consensus, because it's really been a dividing issue right now. Let's roll with this first one. We have J.D. Vance, who we talked about on the last episode. Amy gave us a breakdown of some of his history and background. This is what Vance had to say right after he was named as Trump's vice presidential pick.
A lot of people recognize that we need to do something with Iran, but not these weak little bombing runs. If you're going to punch the Iranians, you punch them hard, and that's what he did when he took out Soleimani. By the way, that action, people said that it would lead to broader war. It actually brought peace. It actually checked the Iranians and slowed them down a little bit. But let me just say something about this Iran issue, because maybe the most important diplomatic breakthrough of the Trump administration was the Abraham Accords. If you want to check Iran, the way to do it is to, one, withdraw their oil money, which of course Joe Biden's been bad about, but you've also got to enable the Israelis and the Sunni Arab states to work together and actually provide a counterbalance to Iran. Joe Biden has done nothing. You have the infrastructure there, sitting there, to weaken Iran, to strengthen our ally Israel. Joe Biden's done nothing with it. Donald Trump would reinvigorate it. I think
Yeah. So right there, that was one of the first big things that caused controversy, because, as he said at the beginning, he's calling to hit Iran hard.
Well, I didn't have a problem with his dissection of the killing of
Soleimani,
who died like a dog. Remember that?
No, that was Abu.
Oh, that was a different guy.
Yeah.
Don't cry, Abu.
Okay,
Remember?
I'm sorry. I got my terrorists mixed up on that one. I didn't mind that portion of it because he was praising Trump showing strength in the Middle East and how that led to the Abraham Accords. I didn't like when the ugly neocon part came out, where we're now back to having people, especially the vice presidential candidate. And now, I mean, that point, we've talked about that. This pick means more than ever, considering what took place less than a week ago, 6 days ago in Pennsylvania with Trump being shot. Now you're looking at what could possibly be the future of the Republican Party, and what that looks like is more foreign wars, which is what I thought we were trying to get out of.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, so I agree. I think that the reason they hate him so much, the reason they hated JFK so much, the reason that a lot of these presidents that have gotten blowback is because of, the quick one-time strike, getting respect from the rest of the world, and not like dragging it out, making it a long duration thing where you have to spend a lot of money and throw a lot of money at the problem. Because the military-industrial complex hates a quick solution to a problem. They want a situation where you're dragging it out, like whether it was the end of World War II, where we stopped pushing ahead against Russia, we let Russia consolidate and regain strength. That became a whole 30-year Cold War thing. Then when the Soviet Union collapsed, instead of making a peace deal with Russia, we formed NATO and made NATO take aggressive action against Russia and encroach upon it, put missiles next to it. So they like these situations where you could create and muster up a conflict rather than a one-time solution. And I think Trump wasn't even thinking in those terms. So he was just doing what was a logical thing to do to a one-time show of force that puts an end to a situation. But they obviously hated that.
So are you saying that J.D. Vance is trying to further the military-industrial complex by waging war against Iran?
I'm not sure that he's that deep into it yet, but I think that his instinct is right to show force, but I just hope it's the type of force that Trump was showing, where it's a one-time strike and we're not sending resources to the Middle East. We're a logical approach where you put sanctions on, show force one time.
Humberto, you're a former resident of the Middle East, right? At one point you lived in, I'm not allowed to say what countries you've lived in, but you've lived abroad. Yeah. Your opinion of J.D. Vance calling for us to go to war with Iran?
I'm glad he's vice president. That's all I want to say. The thing is that this view of Iran and the solutions they're presenting to solve the thing. When I first came here to the United States, I stayed as a foreign student with an Iranian family. I work for an Iranian guy. I know that the culture and the building blocks of Iranian society is absolutely wonderful. We have things to learn from them. They have tradition. They have values, and this I don't know, this view they have of Iran and the solutions they present is absolutely ridiculous. People do not understand how big Iran is. They don't understand that if we went old school CIA, do a little change of regime there, that would be enough. But some people, especially big part of the Republican Party and a huge part of the Democrat Party, their goal is to destroy Iran. And it's not like national, like global security is not their first concern. This goes beyond of what is reasonable for the United States. That would be to have a stable Iran with a republic established there. We know the forces in Iran right now, they're moving. There's enough tension, and with a little push, we could have an Iran to work as an ally instead of an Iran that can, they can start a nuclear war. So I think the motives of this rhetoric, it scares the hell out of me. And I hope Trump lasts the whole administration, because having a guy that talks like this willy-nilly about something that can lead to a world war and the complete obliteration of America is just scary.
But, okay, so help me understand. So why are you happy that he's the pick then?
Because the vice president is the most useless position in government. They hold no power.
So if you could have had any
Unless
pick...
he dies.
True, correct. He is the second in line to succession. And now what we've talked about is that J.D. Vance becomes the next generation of the Republican Party, which by those comments alone scares the shit out of, or crap out of me, because I fear that now the new age, the new generation of the Republican Party is just more foreign wars, which again goes back to my point of I thought we were trying to stop that. I thought we were trying to bring our troops back home instead of putting them in other situations where now we're fighting globally again, especially because Iran then look at the relationships Iran has with China, that Iran has with Russia. Are we instigating World War III by going and attacking Iran?
Rob, I think Connor can elaborate on it, but all I can say, we've been botching a relationship with Iran for external reasons since the 70s, okay? It's hard to measure, but there's more than 40%, 50% of the Iranian population that hates the mullahs. That's how they call the religious extremists. And they would like to have a republic. If you look at Iran in the 60s and you look at Iran in the 70s, right before they got in, like, it was a beautiful country. People
we've showed photos of it. It looks like a vacation
to,
place.
So you have really smart people that are really good at math, really good at engineering, really good at science. Most of them want to live a free life. But when the foreign policy of the United States is to destroy Iran, not to change it, it's to destroy Iran, like, it makes me wonder what's behind it.
Well, part of the problem too is that there's not a suitable leader that's willing to step up for Iran too. Like, I was really bummed out when Reza came here and he said that he wasn't willing to go back and become the leader, because
sad.
like, he's the equivalent of what Trump is to Iran. Like, you see a polling, like he said, Iran, like most of the country wants a new leader. They want a democracy or a republic, not this dictatorship that they have. But there's not a lot of recognizable names that the whole country could get behind. So to have a real revolution, you need a name that you could get behind and say, like, all right, yeah, we'll put it all on the line if this guy's willing to step up. But he seems to want no part of it. I mean, I can't even if somebody overthrew my family that was running a country, like there's nothing I'd want more than to like go back and get vengeance on them and reclaim the country, because the guy basically has the entire country captive right now under a dictator regime where people are suffering. So that's the biggest thing too, is you need a suitable leader that because you're right, like, it'll be a destabilizing force in the Middle East for as long as this administration or whatever you want to call it, dictatorship is in place, and they need a revolution, but they need a suitable leader for that.
This has been the policy for years.
Well, this the form of government.
And it's not in the best interest of the United States.
This form of government, as long as this form of government's in place there, it's going to be a destabilizing force in the Middle East. Because when we took those sanctions off, that's why the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, that's why they had enough money to do what they're doing now.
Brandon, I said this before. The dollar is not a weapon. and it has never worked.
They were hurting though when we had sanctions on them.
They don't hurt enough. You have Cuba that's been under sanctions for almost 100 years now. They've been under sanctions. Life goes on. It goes on differently. But the more you use the US dollar as a weapon, the less effective it is. Wars, they're fought with weapons, with guns, with helicopters, with drones, whatever you want to throw at it. One side kills the other side. But trying to use the US dollar as a weapon, it's going to hit us in the back. It's already happening with BRICS. It's already happening with inflation. And this doesn't work. We've seen it. It's been 100 years of sanctions in some places, 60 years in some places, 40 years in some places, 2 years on Russia.
Here's the thing.
And their money's growing stronger. They're reactivating their industrial sector. So I think this is bad policy. It's embarrassing. And I think he should just stand there next to Trump. I don't think he's a terrible VP, but I don't know. This is scary rhetoric.
I'd love to continue this conversation and figure out a way to bring peace to the Middle East. However, it has not been successful as of yet. And I know that Connor has a lot of videos to play. So, Connor,
Yes.
I'll go back to you. I know that you were trying to weigh in. If you want to weigh in on what Humberto was saying, and then we'll roll to the next clip.
But real quick, actually, I just wanted to kick it over to Kelley real quick. Give us your take on Vance, because I know you like Vance from what you've mentioned in the past.
I do like Vance. I appreciated his honesty when he way back when he said he didn't like Trump, because I feel like a lot of us struggle with Trump throughout his presidency and throughout his time here. But I appreciate that he's also able to come back from that and he's like on board. And I think it's important to have someone on your team that you might have disagreed with before, and that now you've come to certain solutions, someone that not afraid to push back and challenge you, not just yes you to death. I feel like a lot of people probably yes Trump to death, so I'm happy about that. And believe me, I learned my lesson last episode, so I'll leave the war to the boys.
Okay,
You might get drafted now though, so watch out.
I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm actually a pretty good shot. So there's that. But yeah, I'll leave the war to the boys.
And you might be tall enough to cover the front of Trump's head if they're trying to get out of a crisis area.
I'm 5'7", so I'm pretty tall for a girl, but I'm the shortest in my family actually. But I'll just coordinate from the back. I'll hide and be like, okay, we're going here, guys.
The last one they had shielding his head looked like one of those 5'3" and an attitude types.
So it's a whole thing.
But anyway, you might be able to weigh in a little bit more on this one.
Probably.
Because the next significant thing we saw coming out of the RNC was that Amber Rose, that woman who rose to prominence by sleeping with rappers and then likes to claim to be a rapper herself. And on that note, I actually need to point out, because I wrote the article talking about how she was, named as one of the keynote speakers. Rapper, model, and social media personality Amber Rose.
Yeah.
And everybody in the comments were like, whatever idiot wrote this clearly doesn't. She's not a rapper. She's put out like 4 rap songs. She calls herself a rapper. I never said she was good. I never said she was successful. I said that's what she called herself. So all of you are wrong. Fight me. But anyway, she was allowed to speak as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to show a segment of her speech too.
Sorry.
I realize Donald Trump and his supporters don't care if you're black, white, gay, or straight. It's all love. And that's when it hit me. These are my people. This is where I belong.
Asking her, she was saying that she was asking her dad, how could you support Trump? And he's like, do me a favor, just go do your research and then see how you feel after that. And that's what turned her, I believe.
Yeah, but isn't there anybody else that, no offense to her, I'm sure that she's a very lovely gal. And I know who Amber Rose is because I'm a male. I have sexual needs.
Oh, okay. Just say it.
I masturbated to Amber Rose. Is that what you want me to yell? Fine, I've done it. I know who she is. I don't know if she is necessarily the best representation, because when you bring out people like this, then you just give ammo to the left to mock us.
Here's the thing,
Or
though.
to mock, I don't even want to, I try and be impartial, to mock the right, because you're bringing out a girl who is known for like you said, sleeping with rappers, right? She got famous because she was talking about Kanye West liking fingers in his booty hole.
And don't forget the Los Angeles slut walk.
Yes, she was part of the slut walk, which, again, okay, but feminism, yay. Look how that's worked out. No offense, Kelley. We can take a look at what happened last Saturday and go, well, maybe not. Women aren't equal in every capacity. A lot of them, yes, but certain ones,
Here's
no.
the thing, though. So she's a demographic. Like, everybody out here is a demographic, and she represents a certain subset of people who,
Skanks, or I'm sorry, reformed skanks. Is that the demographic?
No, let's just say black women. I mean, I literally
She's
have
black.
Half.
Yeah.
Which is about as close as the
There's
Republicans
a million
want to get.
black women that they could have found that used to be Democrats that turned around and came Republican and used. That is not the the woman comes out with forehead tattoos. Like, none of that. It all looks like a bad look on the RNC.
Point being, she represents, like, I literally have not seen a black woman say that they're voting for Biden in the last 6, 7, 8 months. So they say this number, it's gone from 7% to 20% since 2020. I think that's BS. I think 80% of black people are ready to vote for Trump.
Kelley?
Have you met Candace Owens?
Of course.
Just curious.
That's why she's so popular, because she was the first one to come out and boldly say it, and she got eviscerated for it at first.
There's not no one. But so here's the thing. It's actually a very Christian move to take a reformed person to show their redemption story.
I mean, she was the one that was at the slut walk. She called herself a slut.
And as far
She's
as
a reformed slut.
And as far as I know, that's like still her thing. She's just Republican now. I mean, I would rather it be a good, God-respecting, family-oriented person. But that's not to say she's not in other respects. And again, it's a very Christian move to have someone that's relatable. Jesus loved sinners. We all sat down next to sinners. We're not perfect. And I think the Republican Party embraces that more than the Democratic Party does. You're wrong in the Democratic Party, you're fucking canceled. Sorry.
Which
Are we 8 minutes in?
But what's interesting about that is that has flip-flopped in the past 20 years, because it felt, when I was growing up, it felt like the Republicans were the ones that were against gay marriage, they were against abortion, they were against stem cell research, they weren't progressive, and they were the ones that were, if you didn't have our cult-like mentality, you don't belong in this party. In the past 20 years, those parties have flipped, whereas now the Republican Party is the party of you can be gay, you can be black, you can be trans and support. And we're okay with that. It's the left that's like, hey, if you're not trans, you're not in this party anymore. You don't belong with us. Yeah. So, like, the party of compassion and understanding, oddly enough, is no longer the Democrats. It's actually the Republicans.
And what's very interesting that I need to point out is that this is exactly the debate that broke out because of Amber Rose being included. The fight over whether she's actually even reformed. Because just earlier this year, she was doing an interview where she was praising the Satanic Temple for opening its own abortion clinics to allow women to keep access to it in states where it might have been banned.
Even worse than that she's at the RNC if she's not reformed in that respect, because we are not for abortion and we don't uphold those values in this party.
But did you see the RNC platform they put out before the convention started? I printed out a copy and was sharing it with Humberto earlier.
I don't think
They put out their new list of platform policies. You know, it's a bunch of things spelled out in a list of 20 and then like 5 or 6 pages of write-ups. What they have done now is embrace the Republican Party's most open-handed approach to abortion that it's ever had. Because now they have made Trump's stance on abortion the official policy, which is every state gets to decide for itself. That's all Trump wants. Trump opposes a federal ban, which for a long time was the Republican platform. The Republicans, in their party document every 4 years, said, we're calling for a blanket federal ban on abortion.
Well, I personally like that because I think a federal ban politically is suicide. I mean, aside from that, I think it's foolish to do that because there are situations where abortion is definitely justified. You know, it's a terrible, horrible thing when it ever happens, but it's the less of two evils between a federal ban and situationally making it legal. I think situationally making it legal is the lesser of the two evils between an outright federal ban because of certain situations.
And that's this other ongoing debate over that subject, but like I mentioned earlier this year, Amber Rose was saying, hey, when the Church of Satan opened its own abortion clinics to use religious rights exemptions to get around state bans, that was a good thing. And she was happy that it gave women access to that. So the fact that she still has an ongoing OnlyFans page that appears...
Sorry, no, that's not what I was... I Googled how many abortions has Amber Rose had, and then it said 46. celebrities who have had abortions.
Oh my God.
She should not be having that many abortions.
Stop.
Well,
One is too many in some people's opinion.
but
It is.
her active OnlyFans page is currently running a discount, apparently, for anyone who uses like a Trump-related code to get the discount.
What's that
Again,
code?
I'm not.
I'm not going to tell you that,
Oh,
Rob.
okay. Never
Again,
mind.
I'm not for this. I would it doesn't hurt my feelings. And again, in the JD Vance thing as well, I think it's interesting to see how many people are so fed up with the current government that we have and the current policies that we have and the inflation that we have. So now they're like, I got to go Republican and I got to vote Trump. It's my only choice.
Well, she's okay. So I understand the strategical reason for having her, and I didn't before, but now I'm digging in and I'm seeing that her Instagram account has 24.3 million people.
Boom.
You know what her photo is? It's the funniest photo I've ever seen.
No.
It's she took Donald Trump's face and put it on Eazy-E's face from Friday, or I'm sorry, from NWA, and not Ice Cube, but actual Eazy-E, because he's got the curls coming out. It's Trump's face with black curls, sunglasses, and the Make America Great Again hat, but it looks like the LA Raiders hat. So I understand strategically why having her there is important. She taps into a voter base that the Republicans may not have tapped into, reform sluts and other Instagram hoes. So now I understand why they had it. Would I have chosen her? Probably not, but that's why I'm here and not in charge of the RNC. We have less than 2 minutes to go. So what other videos do you have?
Can you play that one,
Humberto,
please?
any thoughts on Amber Rose before we move on, or should I roll our last clip?
I want to roll the last clip because
So
I want
this
to be mad.
was probably the biggest issue. I'm sorry, go back one more. Yes. So this is Harmeet Dillon. She is a RNC attorney. She was a Trump legal advisor for a long time. By all accounts, a very strong, solid conservative.
Yeah, they said she was actually going before they named Laura Trump as the head of the RNC. The reports were that Harmeet Dillon was.
Yeah, the last time they had an actual RNC election, she was very close to ousting Ronna McDaniel before Ronna ultimately resigned and was replaced with Laura Trump and the other people Trump brought in. But Harmeet Dillon is also a Sikh. And during closing benedictions on the first day, they had, I believe, a Catholic priest got up and gave a traditional prayer to close out the RNC. And then Harmeet came out and spoke after that. Yeah. Here's her prayer.
So agyakari tumari gat mit tumhi jani nanak das sada kurbani. Dear Waheguru, our one true God, we thank you for creating America as a unique haven on this earth where all people are free to worship according to their faith. We seek your blessings and guidance for our beloved country. Please bless our people with wisdom as they vote in the upcoming election, and please bless with humility, honesty, skill, and integrity all those who conduct the election.
So, to make a disclaimer here, according to the Sikh faith, if you ask a Sikh, they say they pray to the same God that the other major world religions do. You know, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. They say it's all the same God, and they are also praying to that deity. The other religions would obviously tend to disagree with that, but that's what the Sikhs say. So, according to their stance, when she came out and prayed to Waheguru as the one true God, she was merely acknowledging the same God that the other major American faiths do. But that set off a huge wave of backlash of, some people saying this Eastern pagan religion has no place on stage in a Christian country. Other people saying America's not a Christian country. The Republican Party isn't just for Christians. We have to have it open to everybody. And I'm curious for feedback. Humberto, we'll start with you because we missed you on that last one.
Kelley, you said that having Amber Rose is a very Christian thing. That is a very Protestant thing, okay?
Amber Rose?
Yeah.
Jesus sat with sinners. Jesus broke bread with sinners. He loves
but listen to
the
me.
sinner.
Listen to me. The conservative movement in general has this problem that they're so apologetic to the left that they want to have a DEI fest on top of the stage. They want to bring people. The thing is, Henry Kissinger, like everyone heard the saying, like, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Okay? That's the saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Henry Kissinger argued against it because if you become friends with the enemy of your enemy, you create very unstable, like temporary alliances. seeing this thing and how things are shaping up, everyone was hyped that Trump's government was going to be the end of the government of the century. And what I'm seeing right now with JD Vance, Amber Rose being included, this pagan ritual at the end of the thing, that this is at best is going to be a transitional government. Like, we need to understand here that the United States we are guarding the Western tradition. We're guarding the Western way of life. We're moving forward in that sense.
I am 100% strong and confident in my faith as a Christian that I'm not threatened by someone else in my party having a different faith than me. And that is what America is founded on, freedom for all people. So if you have a different faith, Adam's Jewish. If this person worships a pagan god, he is Jewish. If you're gay, if you're straight, I accept you and I love you because I am a Christian and that is what I am called to do. Do our values align 100%? No. Am I part of a republic that chooses what laws we follow based on our differences? Yes. So just because I'm in the Republican Party, it's not purely Christian. We are open to other faiths as well that follow values. Not every faith is the same. Not every Christian faith is the same. So are we going to say only Catholics can go up on stage?
No, I'm not saying, but Christians in general. What do you know about the Sikh faith?
I know nothing.
You know nothing. And we're putting people that were openly for abortion. We're being weak on all the things that will get this country to the next level. Like, I've been to India. I have really good Indian friends. I see them pursuing their faith and everything. But having this as a closing word for the Republican Party, like, I think is offensive. Like, I think it's offensive.
Why is it offensive? Explain to me why it's offensive. Why is it offensive? Because it differs from your beliefs?
No. It's not a difference from my beliefs. It's a difference with how.
Because you think it's a show. They picked her because she's Indian. She has a different faith, and they want to seem.
She's a solid lawyer. She's a solid woman. Tremendous
Then what's wrong with that?
But I think she
has, you just said she has conservative values. She's a wonderful woman. She's somebody that women should look up to. But just because she practices a different faith and said a different prayer other than our Father, then this is a sham.
I think she had more things to say about conservative principles, the lawfare, a bunch of other things, than having everyone there that is majority Christian have to go through a prayer that is foreign to them. That's my take.
What percent of our country is that religion off the top of your head? Do you know?
I think Christians right now is...
No, I know Christian is like over 50%, but was it Sikh?
Sikh, I don't think they will make
digits?
More. Yeah, it probably...
0.08% of the total American population. This according to 2020 estimates. So maybe it exploded when a bunch of people came over the border. I'm not sure.
That's what's offensive to me, though.
I know all the Sikhs are in Canada.
Because that's not representative of the country. Like, if it was like a 50% Christian, 20% something else.
Who cares? You go to a wedding, everybody blesses the union, right? Like, people are like, bless you from whatever faith. They give blessings for, they want you to succeed. They want you to be successful. They want love. They want good things for you.
What if they played the Mexican national anthem, though, like at the RNC?
That's different. That's our country is what unites us all. There is nothing that divides us because we all live here in our country. Our faith is different. We live in America. American flag, American anthem, whatever. But your faith is different. And I don't care that other faiths were represented and they gave a blessing for the Republican Party. No problem.
I'd love to continue arguing this. We could go on all day, but just like we can't solve peace in the Middle East, we are certainly not going to solve the separation of church and state in the United States either. So let's move on to something that we can definitely dive into, which is Joe Biden. He comes out and makes the announcement on Wednesday that if a doctor tells him that there is a medical reason why he should not continue to seek re-election, he will step down. 2 hours later, he comes out and tells everybody he's got COVID. Kelley, what updates do you have on the health and the current campaign efforts of our current president, Joe Biden?
So I would like to show everyone what we've been referencing. But I first like to say that I feel so bad for Biden. I think he's been betrayed by his party, and I think the Democrats are shameful. They knew what was going on with him. They still elected him as their nomination for their party. They still let him do that debate, and they could have carried on the charade of, oh, he's fine, even though we're seeing all these videos of his mental health failing. They still put him up there, and now at the last moment, we're 109 days away, or 108 days away from our election day, and they're now going to throw something else in the mix. It's so shameful. So this is the video that came out on Wednesday. Go ahead and play this video, Jake.
If I had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided. And quite frankly, I think the only thing age brings a little bit of wisdom. And I think I've demonstrated that I know how to get things done for the country, in spite of the fact that we told we couldn't get it done. But there's more to do, and I'm reluctant to walk away from it.
How dare you think there's something wrong with him? He just has a speech impediment. He's always had a speech impediment.
He's not always had a speech impediment.
That was jet lag. And none of you are global jet setters like the president. That is jet lag from over a month ago when he toured the world.
Yep.
How dare all of you? You guys are insensitive bigots.
So that's my point. So he was very adamant when they all started turning on him. He was very adamant saying, God is the only one that could take me out of this position. And now his language is starting to change. So that was Wednesday morning. That interview came out from BBC.
Before we move on, why do you guys think that language has changed?
Well, because he said God's the only one who could take him out.
He said it right there.
Yeah, no, I know, but the powers that be think that they're God, and the same powers that got him into the White House are now against him, and that's the invisible force that we see with things like Trump getting shot, Trump getting all these attacks against him. Basically, anything that these entities, powers that be, want, they make it happen or put as much energy as possible into making it happen, and they have immense resources that we can't even comprehend. So that's what's against him right now.
So I don't disagree with you. In my opinion, what happens here is that he refused. It's a weird play because we talked. Why would you waste a candidate? Trump is going to win. And I hate to be that. I didn't vote. Again, I always like to preface this. I didn't vote for him in 2020. I voted for the guy with dementia by accident. Didn't know, fell victim to propaganda. That being said, after what took place last Saturday, Donald Trump could go sit in Mar-a-Lago in a secure bunker which he should. I 100% agree. And he'll still win that campaign. He does not need to campaign anymore. The election is over. Joe Biden is done. Trump is going to win. So the question becomes, okay, why would they now, if there are people pushing him from behind the scenes, and here's what I think happened. I think they've kept him protected. And now all of a sudden they go, okay, you're not stepping down. We need you to, which I don't understand. You know that this election is over. Unless they get Michelle Obama to come out and run, that's the only way that Trump loses. That's the only play they have.
They don't want to relinquish power for 4 more years.
I think they still agree. They think they're still going to be able to kill him.
So then here's what they do. Then they come out and they go, okay, we need you to step down. You're not going to step down. We've protected you this long. Here's what's going to happen if you don't step down. Here is, Hunter left how many laptops? Here's laptops. Here's diaries. Here's financial records. You want to go spend the last years you have of life in a prison? No? Then say you're going to step down. We'll come out and we'll say, hey, it turns out he does have Parkinson's. That's why he's met with these doctors. Now you step aside, say for the betterment of the country, I have to step aside to take care of my own health. But the real reason why he's doing that is to continue to protect Hunter, his crackhead son, and their illegal business dealings.
And they showed they're willing to kill somebody now, so I think he didn't take them seriously, but now he saw they're willing to kill a president or a former president, so I think he's taking them a lot seriously, and he looked rattled after Trump was shot at, because people claim that he had something to do with that. I don't even think he had something to do with that. I think that the same forces that went after Trump could potentially go after Biden.
I'll go to you, and then Humberto. I agree with you that I don't think he had anything to do with it, because I don't think he has anything to do with what's going on now. So there's no way that he would have anything to do with an assassination, because he hasn't had anything to do with anything for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I think they're also sitting on the tapes of the Her interview like a magic bullet, just waiting to okay, a special counsel sat down with Trump and with Biden and interviewed him for days on end and got it all on audio logs that they are now withholding. But I think they've also said, hey, if you keep going like you're going, we're going to drop these tapes, and then there's not a damn thing you can do about it. You're going to have to sit down and face the music of everybody knowing that you have lost your mind and maybe also admitted to some criminal activity in the process.
So deep state, Kelley, why do you think Biden is offering to step down now if a medical condition comes up?
Well, it's part of the narrative. He's now subbed in. He's like, okay, what do I have to do? And I don't think he wants to do it anymore. How would you feel if like your entire party betrayed you and everybody's doing your job for you and like you don't want to do it anymore? He's an older man whose mental health is declining. He's probably like, I want to go to sleep. I don't want to eat my ice cream cone. So for sure this is the next step. So he comes out with that statement. He gets can we play this video real quick, Jake, first before we do that?
She's not only a great vice president, she could be president of the United States.
So before,
Backdrop against the NAACP.
do you hear? Yeah, and do you hear them all kind of like booing too? They're not happy about that. So there's no way she would win against Trump. So they don't know what they're gonna do, and I don't think he does either. So he was before. Do you remember the Karine Jean-Pierre interview where he was like, "She's not ready yet to be Vice President Trump," blah blah blah. And because he called her Trump by accident, that interview.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden this week, he's saying she'd be a great president. They're trying to put her or someone else to be, they're trying to strengthen his thing or let him fall.
Do you think scary people spoke to him?
Scary people spoke to him?
Biden.
No, I feel like they're
Really?
just telling him what to do.
I think
they're
very,
like, okay,
I
you're
think
doing
very,
this now.
very loving people spoke to him, because I think the scary people got to all the people who take care of him on a regular basis. Because
You're right.
Because
They go to Hunter instead of telling Joe, we're going to do this to Hunter. You go to Hunter because you know now, because Hunter was sitting in after the debate. What happened? Hunter flew to the White House and Hunter was sitting in on cabinet meetings with the president. So if your move there is to try and get Biden to step down, you don't go to Biden directly. You go to the person he trusts, which is his son, and go, hey, listen, crackhead, you want to spend the rest of your life in jail for being a crackhead? No? Then you got to convince your father.
You get him to drop out, and maybe on his way out, we'll allow him to sign a pardon for you and a couple other people. I think they are working on Jill because she has all of her faculties and refuses to give up power. She's basically
There's no
committing
way.
elder
There's
abuse
no way.
by making her husband do this.
There's
Hold
no
on,
way.
everybody's waiting. Deep state, somewhat deep state. But Humberto, why do you believe that Joe Biden is now out of nowhere after weeks of defending and saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm steadfast, I am the candidate, including yesterday, there were reports that he told Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, I ain't going anywhere. But then he also gives this press conference. Why do you think Joe Biden has all of a sudden done a 180 on being the Democratic candidate for 2024?
It's out of his hands. The debate. Well, I actually said this. This was part of the plan. First debate, health decline, drop, and they paraded him everywhere. So, obviously, the guy that keeps his agenda, he did 18, by now, 22, public appearances, weekend interviews, and it just got bad and worse and worse. So they built, enough evidence for this to happen. We saw it coming. I'm not surprised. And if I guess, probably by next show, he won't be there.
Okay, so those are the reports coming into the weekend, is that he will not survive, and I don't mean that in he's going to get assassinated. He's not going to survive the weekend as president. They will force him to step down. But Kelley, you have more here, so go ahead.
I have just a couple more things. So right after that interview came out on Wednesday morning, this came out Wednesday afternoon. We can show this, Jeremy. So, yeah, he got tested positive for COVID. He has to cancel his speech in Las Vegas. Meanwhile, Trump just got shot 6 days ago on Saturday, and he is still campaigning against Brandon's direct orders.
And we saw Joy Reid on
Next slide.
MSNBC say that, if Biden
Jake, next
recovers
slide.
from COVID, it's just as good as Trump. Yeah, if Biden gets over a cough, it's the same thing as Trump recovering from getting shot in the head.
It could be at this point, but I don't think so. So then Joe goes on social media and makes a joke about it, might be his staff, might be him. I'm sick of Musk and blah, blah, blah. Vote, donate to me.
I highly doubt he even knows what Twitter is.
Right?
I'm sure that he knows that it exists. I doubt that Joe Biden in his entire adult life has ever sent a tweet.
So then the last thing is This came out yesterday on Thursday. Obama tells allies Biden's path to winning re-election has greatly diminished. So now it was all over the news yesterday about what you were just saying, that Biden's not going to survive the week. So here's my conspiracy theory. The Democrats planned this from the beginning. They picked Joe Biden knowing his mental state. They put him up in that debate so that it could be revealed officially to the world and the media could get on board that he's losing his marbles enough, not a lot, but enough that the fact that he can't run the country. So now they knew that nobody was going to win against Trump in early polling, whatever. Trump was going to make it. Now they want to throw in this wrench, confuse the American people, run a whole campaign with a Michelle Obama. How amazing, like what kind of story that would be to go against this. They've planned this from the beginning when they nominated him because they knew of his condition, and now this is just part of the story about getting him out.
What they do about the money, though, that they can't give to anybody except Kamala? I think it's like $250 million.
Kamala gets the person that they want, so whoever it is that they want as her VP. So it's Kamala and then Michelle Obama, who's going to be the next 8 years.
Black women.
But they will
But one
not. They're
black
doing
woman,
whatever
one
they
Indian
can.
woman.
It's a last ditch effort. It's a dramatic effort. It's a story. Somebody's really fucked up playing game of cards. What's it called? Card of
House of
houses.
Cards.
House of cards.
Unless the plan was to burn Kamala in the process, because think about it. She dropped out of the Democratic primary in 2020 with less than 1% support. Nobody liked her. And
Nobody likes her still.
Not even Biden liked her, because she basically said Biden was a racist who opposed busing that little girl was me. Yeah, you just called Biden a racist segregationist.
Whoever.
But now she's vice president, and they're stuck with her because they needed, the perky black woman to allegedly
DEI.
black woman to take the spot. But they don't like her either. So, okay, if they don't care about money, are they interested in just burning her against Trump to get her out of the way to free it up for whoever they want next time around? Because they already know they're going to lose.
I don't think they're okay with letting Trump get in the White House. I think they're willing to do anything necessary because, not only is he going to come down on him with like the wrath of the full power of the presidency, but I think he already changed and set back to Agenda 2021 to Agenda 2030. Like that's why that changed. So, and that's their biggest fear.
But come on, they already lost the narrative. They could literally have a ticket with Oprah and Michelle Obama endorsed by, everyone, you know.
A double black woman ticket.
But they lost the narrative. Like the Trump, proposition of value to the American public with inflation, with the attacks, there's no one that can get in there and turn things around. But Brandon, you're also right. They will do everything in their power for Trump to get to.
Nothing's
to
off the table. Their Bible is the
off the
book called The
table.
Prince, and it says all ends justify the means. So literally anything possible, as dirty, vile as you could imagine, like nuclear waste incident happen, or blow things up, poison the water supply. Nothing's off the table, I would imagine.
I think Democrats knew what they were doing. They're doing every last-ditch effort they can with the Trump assassination, with whatever they're doing now with, oh no, Biden's sick. Oh no, he can't continue. Kamala, whatever. It's all a game. And I feel angry because now, even if I didn't want to vote for Trump, I don't have a choice,
Yeah.
And I think it's shameful and irresponsible. And the Democratic Party needs to do better.
Well, they're the vehicle for globalism. That's the thing. Like people, have to look at the globalism agenda as like part of the Democrat Party.
They have no agenda because they have no figurehead. The figurehead they nominated is sick.
Yeah.
And still the nomination.
Well, the
Right.
figurehead they wanted was president for 2 consecutive terms from 2008 to 2016. They didn't really have a plan after that. They've been scrambling
Put another
for somebody
puppet up there
ever
that
since
everybody
Hillary.
likes.
And maybe
Hillary.
that's who makes the return. Is in 2024 we have a rematch of 2016.
I can't believe we haven't
where
heard
Hillary
of her.
comes back for revenge.
Oh, God.
I can't believe we haven't heard from her since the assassination attempt. I was expecting her to come out with
Well,
the most
normally-
passive-aggressive.
Normally, people
Yeah.
who do and orchestrate assassinations then don't come out and speak. on it. Just kidding. Hillary had nothing to do with that, nor did she have anything to do with the 52 people that mysteriously died surrounding her. We're going to move on, though, to the lone wolf shooter. The topic in the news has been, for the past couple of days, of course, Donald Trump's assassination attempt. Now, we know that the shooter or alleged shooter is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Pennsylvania. But is he the lone shooter? There has been footage circulating since the shooting happened where people spoke with news outlets reporting that there were multiple shooters on Saturday or at the event on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. However, video released today may actually have captured a second shooter. Let's roll the tape. Here are some of the witnesses. And guys, I want to play these witnesses back to back to back for them to give their accounts. And then I'd like for you all to weigh in before we play the video that I'd like to show you. First up, here are different eyewitness accounts from Saturday's assassination attempt at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Play the tape, Jeremy.
The gentleman behind me, I was one seat, he was to the right of me. He could see the sharpshooter behind Trump. He said the sharpshooter shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here.
Killed the man in the water tower here. Now, prior to these videos, I had not heard of anybody being seen in a water tower. Have you guys?
Nope.
Nope.
No. So everything has been the one guy who was on the roof that, according to reports that came out yesterday, the Secret Service knew that he was on the roof, or at least, I'm sorry, let me say that as accurately as I can. Authorities. I don't know whether it was local cops. I have not found whether it was Secret Service, but authorities confirmed that they saw the suspect on the roof at least 20 minutes prior to the shooting. Some reports say that he was a suspect of interest at least an hour before Trump got on stage. There's a timeline which breaks it down where they say that law enforcement officials investigating the assassination attempt on Donald Trump told lawmakers Wednesday, so yesterday or 2 days ago, that 20 minutes passed between the time U.S. Secret Service snipers first spotted the gunman on the roof and the time that the shots were fired at the former president. They say that Thomas Matthew Crooks was spotted at 5:52 p.m. by the snipers. Then the shooting took place 20 minutes later at 6:12 p.m. Here is footage of another witness at the rally on Saturday claiming that they saw more than one shooter. And again, listen, we know that when this is going on, there's a lot of miscommunication. There's a lot of misinformation that comes out because it's chaotic. You're hearing shots. You're not knowing what direction they're coming from. Unfortunately, right now, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but as of today, there have been no ballistic reports released.
No. That's what I've been obsessed with. I think that'll tell such a story when we see a legit number of shots fired in a ballistics map of which direction the shots went, because we still don't know for sure exactly precisely where the guy who got shot in the head and killed was sitting, where the person who got injured was sitting, and then how the bullet hit that machine that made the hydraulic fluid start spraying. So a lot of stuff like that to be seen.
So there's no definitive information regarding the ballistics, the angles, none of that has been confirmed and been released. So the only evidence that we have to go on regarding Saturday's shooting is footage from the shooting and eyewitness accounts. And here is a second eyewitness who talks about there being more than one shooter during Saturday's assassination attempt.
First crack of the gunfire, and I just screamed, it's the sniper, and he was firing down toward the water tower.
That's what we're hearing.
Firing down towards the water tower. And that last part that you heard was the reporter asking that question, and he states that's what we're hearing. Yep. So that means that more than just that person told him. It could just be one other person, but at least more than one person is acknowledging that there were shots being fired towards and coming from the water tower. Let's play this third eyewitness who claims there was more than one shooting on Saturday.
They had been right by the fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence.
So now we're seeing a shooter over at a fence, a shooter at a water tower, and then you have the shooter on the roof. So there are multiple reports of more than one shooter. And again, we know that there are police, there's law enforcement on site. We know the Secret Service is on site. So we know that there are other people with guns that are going to be present. But were those people firing those guns at the time that the shots were fired at the former president is really what comes into question. So I want to go around and ask all of you, do you guys believe that 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, a guy who has not any digital footprint whatsoever. The only thing he had was, according to reports from 2 days ago, he had a Discord account where he may have posted that he was going to go through with the shooting. But other than that, the guy's been in more BlackRock ads and Facebook posts. He has no Instagram account, no Twitter. Do you guys believe that this 20-year-old kid who allegedly was registered as a Republican but donated to the Democrats, do you believe that this kid was a lone wolf shooter? We'll go to you, Brandon, first. Then we'll go to Connor, Kelley, and Humberto.
Every single facet of this entire thing smells fishy. I mean, I'm like speaking in terms of like let's assume that I was not of the conspiratorial mindset from the jump, which I was, because this stuff, CIA 101, sleight of hand, make you look in one direction when something's going on in the other spot. Like that clip, it was on TV. That was the day of. They let that person speak on TV. You haven't seen that clip once since then. If you try to find it, it's recorded on somebody's TV in that clip, which means that they haven't showed or made visible those clips of people saying things about the water tower or the wall, which is weird. They made it abundantly clear that somebody was on the roof from the jump. And the FBI, the institution that's done all these things against Trump, where it came out that even a whistleblower was saying that one of the criteria for getting a security clearance was, have you voted for Trump or have you supported Trump in the past? So that's who's running point on this right now. Going to the ballistic stuff, it's not hard to see where the bullets went, but there's no traceable map on the internet that shows where the bullets came from, where they hit, which is an easy thing to show. And then in addition to that, the the second shooter thing, I think that there's they would not put something like this in the hands of some amateur. If these forces are powerful enough to get the Secret Service to stand down, they're not going to leave it all up to this one kid. There's definitely a professional somewhere. Because I think it's beyond a doubt. Like, we found out the Secret Service knew 10 minutes beforehand that the shooter was there on the roof with a gun. That's confirmed. That's what they told Congress yesterday. So if we know that, they told that in Congress yesterday, that the Secret Service knew 10 minutes beforehand that the guy was on the roof with a gun.
What?
Yeah. It was
I missed that.
Yeah, no, the senators were demanding it.
That was on Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, so the Secret Service said that to Congress. We know that for a fact. They knew 10 minutes before Trump went on stage. Let him go on stage. So it's clearly, without a question, a stand down from the Secret Service.
Well, that's not fair. But you know that the Secret Service, they can't guard sloped roofs. So was it a stand down, or was it more of a logistics issue where, it's a hindrance? How can you, it's angled at 5 degrees, Brandon. What are you, some kind of commie? You want them to risk their lives to get up on a sloped roof to defend the former president?
That's dangerous. That's how the question put somebody on the sloped roof. But, fortunately, they were notified that the guy had the balls to go up on the sloped roof with a gun and risk his life to do this assassination attempt. So, good thing they found out 10 minutes beforehand. We know that without undeniable fact. They admitted that. So they didn't warn him. They didn't tell Trump not, they let him walk onto stage knowing a guy with a gun was on the roof.
Do you think Trump didn't know? Did they say?
Of course he didn't know.
Well, I disagree. Maybe they told him, and he's like, I'm going to do it. You guys have the situation under control? Okay, I'm going to do it. Just like yesterday, he's like, wait, or Saturday, he's like, wait. And I'm like, don't let him wait. That
time they ripped him off the stage. That was because there was an inkling or like a rumor that somebody said the word gun in the crowd, and they ripped him off stage. So 10 minutes beforehand, they knew somebody was on the roof with a gun. They spotted him. They were watching him. They let Trump walk on the stage. So if there's the forces that are powerful enough to make that happen, aren't going to put this all in the hands of some 20-year-old dipshit who's in like a trans and BlackRock commercials, whatever.
Well, you know what?
And this is what we get out of the fucking Patriot Act. We've given up all of our digital rights for them to scour through all of our shit, and they're telling us they have nothing. Bullshit. Nothing. I don't trust the FBI for 1 second to handle this. So Congress, if Mike Johnson has any shred of balls whatsoever, take this out of the FBI's hands.
Now, just a couple of things to run through about what we know about this situation. So there are reports that an hour before the shooting took place, the Secret Service was alerted about a unusual suspect.
Not one of us.
Yes, not one of us, but just an unusual suspect on the property grounds. We know that they saw him with a target. What is it?
Rangefinder.
At least 30 minutes before the shooting. Yep. We know that they saw him on the roof. You're saying 10 minutes. I've seen reports of 20 minutes. And we know that underneath in the roof that he was on, inside of that building, was the Secret Service.
Right.
So all of this has been confirmed. None of this is, us us theorizing, speculating. This is actual fact.
And the police are pissed too. The Pennsylvania police came out yesterday and said that like they were outraged that they were saying that the guy, the police went up on the roof and ran away. So I guess what happened is the police had to prop the guy up on his shoulders. The other cop, he like was like pulling himself up in the thing. And he pointed the gun up and then he like kind of fell down, letting go of the roof.
Which that's what I also saw in the reports. So that does make sense. So,
but how'd the kid get on the roof though? If they were inside the building and there was no way to get on the roof.
I understand that 100%. I would like to, if that is in fact the case, we right here on this program started criticizing the police without having all the information. That's my fault. I'm the one that did it. I'm the host of the show, so I should have stopped me from saying that, and I didn't. I propagated misinformation. I am a propagandist.
But that's why I'm saying you have to look at the photos and you have to look at the video because you don't know for sure what happened there. You don't know for sure what everybody's rules was and what you can't. It's so hard to Monday morning quarterback when you weren't there.
But you bring up a great question. Okay, that roof is pretty high. There was a ladder that we've seen. How come the kid was able to find that ladder and get up or brought the ladder, right? The reports were at first that he made a trip to Home Depot prior to the assassination attempt. Then the questions became, well, how could he fit the size ladder that he had on the vehicle that he had? Because according to reports, it was like a Hyundai Elantra, and they said it wouldn't fit. Now there are reports that the ladder may have been found at the building. And by I say reports, that's from Frank, our maintenance man. He told me that. But guess what? The media ain't giving me information. I got to go to where I can get it. And he gets his information about the firmament from an AutoZone tech, so I can get mine from the guy that hangs our LED TVs.
Now, to be fair, if there's one thing that Frank, our maintenance guy, does know, it's ladders. He's on them very frequently.
He was just on one before the show.
But the latest report is actually that the shooter did not bring the ladder with him. The ladder was put there by police getting up to try to respond after the shooting, and that he climbed up on an air conditioning unit and used that to pull himself onto the roof. So it's still very much in flux. To Brandon's point, though, about if there was some sort of conspiracy here, would they outsource it to this kid? Probably not. You know what the internet has named the shooter?
Tranny McGee.
No.
That's what I'm going to call him, Tranny McGee.
Well, what the internet is calling him is Retardy Oswald.
Come on.
That's better.
You can't say that anymore.
So, like, that might actually be more easy to remember than the kid's actual name. But he does not seem like the kind of guy you'd go to for your conspiracy to assassinate a former president. But all the facts seem to be pointing to something weird happened. Why are we not even knowing where everything was situated? Because like we talked about the first time we covered this on Monday, this is not, you know, in a place where there's hundreds of rooftops to analyze and figure out where everything was coming from. There are 4 points of interest: where Trump was standing, the building right next to him where the counter snipers were situated, the rooftop where the police were stationed, where allegedly the kid was on top, and then the water tower. And on Monday, Rob, you said the only other building out there is the water tower.
Yes.
There was nobody up there. We talked
that.
about the water tower. But now all of a sudden it's coming out that maybe that water tower was more of a point of interest. And to your other point, Rob, you know what's a lot more sloped than a 5-degree angle roof? A spherical water tower. So clearly it wasn't a Fed who was up there because they're all too afraid of the slope.
Have you guys ever been? This is a weird question. Have you guys ever been on a water tower?
No, I grew up in a city.
I saw that.
Oh, okay. I grew up on an island, and our island had 4 of them. And when I was 14 years old, I started my first real employment, and I worked for the Public Works Department of Brigantine, New Jersey. And part of that was going to I worked for the water department. I fixed sprinkler heads. But I was like 14, and they thought it would be funny, the older guys, because it was part of like the kids would work with the full-timers, and the full-timers are guys that have worked for the city for 30 years. I mean, these were dudes who, they were born on that island. They were going to die on that island. And the only thing that happened in between was fixing sprinkler heads and getting fucked up. That was their life. And I was like, hey, this is a pretty cool life. I could do this. It's awesome. Live in a beach town. We get fucked up. We go fix sprinkler heads. Okay, cool. But I was 14 and dumb. Now I'm like, oh, these guys kind of, but okay. Those guys, they thought it'd be funny to fuck with me. So they made me climb up on the water tower one time, which was terrible. I went up tethered with another guy, but they, like, at 14 years old, my parents didn't sign a waiver. Now at 14 years old, you can go to California, get your dick chopped off, become a lady. But in my day, in 1998 in this country, you were able to climb up a 300-foot water tower without your parents even knowing about it. And I've never told anybody about it to this day.
Wow.
That being said, it is very high. It is very spherical. It is very dangerous to climb. I wouldn't trust anybody to go up there. But that brings us, let's show this photo real quick. And then I want to get your 2 opinions, because
as we
you
go to
guys
this,
have weighed
this
in.
photo.
Yes.
This is actually posted as a kind of a meme by Elon Musk. It's true, but as you can see from the bottom right-hand corner, there's also the little Saddam Hussein thing from that infamous diagram of Saddam Hussein's hiding place underground. But everything else seems to be lining up here.
Shooter ladder, SWAT ladder. I can't read the rest.
Dead guy's still here, but it's censored. So that first top arrow is where the dead guy is, but they've blurred it out. Right underneath it, gun's still here too. SWAT leader looks like they're pointing down to where the
SWAT
trees
ladder
are.
that they went up.
Oh, ladder, sorry. And then shooter ladder.
And then right underneath that, this is a weird internet thing, but there was like when Saddam Hussein was hiding in an underground bunker, there's a diagram of like the cutout in the floor with the AC vent. So they like to take the little drawing of Saddam Hussein and put it into other things.
Okay.
That's why this photo came from Musk. But everything else in this actually
nothing I love more than jokes at former Iraqi dictator's expense. Right?
So
Saddam Hussein was Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, okay, so let's show the video that I would like to show, and then I'd like to go to both of you guys first for your input, and then you two, and then we'll wrap up, because time has escaped us. I apologize, Brandon.
Wait, again?
Okay, yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. Coming next week, we will make sure to fill you in on black budget military weapons.
Our
But
time, like the $35 trillion
reasons to be concerned.
disappears.
yeah, well, I got conspiracy and propaganda to propagate. Here, pull up this video. So this is the video that started going around on social media late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. A lot of weird things, and I wish we could have gotten to this. The stock shortages of the DJT stock, which is very similar to the stock shortages of American Airlines and United Airlines right before the September 11th attacks. There's some great people doing some great investigative work on Twitter that you can go and find that information for yourself. But Brandon and I were talking about that today. If we had more time, we would have gotten into it. But instead, we're going to focus on this right now, because this may or may not be what the internet is saying is the second shooter. So remember, we played you the videos of the eyewitnesses from Butler, Pennsylvania, claiming that there was more than one shooter on Saturday. And now video footage has come out of what people are saying is the second shooter. If you could play this clip, take a look at the top of the water tower. There is a strange shadow and what looks to be a strange black figure up on top of that water tower right before the shooting takes place. Please roll the tape, Jeremy.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
There's a little central knob on top of the thing, then to the right of it. Right there.
Hands.
It's very grainy and very hard to see.
So first of all, you'd have to be
like Dilly Plaza.
It's really what bothers
Spider-Man
what
to get up
bothers
there.
me is whenever anybody gets like shocking footage, like we've caught Bigfoot or here's a Loch Ness monster. It looks like they recorded on like a Nokia cell phone from like 1999. None of it's ever clear. And of course,
it's from that bit, the little
yes. So
square.
let's play it again. You see how like the
and then don't hover over it, Jake, so we can actually
directly
see
behind
the.
where the
like
play
if
button
that was
appears,
to be a
Kelley.
breast, do you see where the nipple?
I thought that was a shadow. I thought that was a shadow.
Yeah, to the right of the areola is where the second shooter may be. You can see him right there.
I see him move now.
Now, again, that could be, look, that could be
We're in the
anything.
age of deep fake AI, so I mean that wouldn't be extremely hard.
Okay, but if it was a deep fake AI, wouldn't you deep fake AI it better than that?
Yeah.
So first of all,
But I
it's
fully
from that original video. It's just zoomed in super, right?
Yep.
So and I thought we were looking at the X, so whatever the logo was on the thing. So I was super confused. But then I saw that thing move.
Yeah.
So I've never seen this before. I've never heard this before, and I wouldn't have if you didn't tell me. So the fact, remember how it came out and it was like, oh, Trump fell, blah, 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 at the thing.
Yeah.
Trump,
Right.
and one person did. So what? I don't trust the media at all.
Nope.
Nobody's telling us anything. There are already videos. And people that are saying that it's staged make me sick, because if they watch the video where they do the 3D version now, I think we showed it on the last episode, where he literally turned his head and it went right here and it was perfectly going to be dead on. Like he was gonna die, and I can't believe it didn't happen. So
There's a picture of the bullet next to his head too.
yeah. But we don't see that until it gets pushed out there, right?
Right.
How come we don't know more about this? And if this is the case, not only did the Secret Service fuck up so bad that they didn't get the one shooter on the roof that everybody was telling them about 20 minutes before, they also had a shooter which they said they looked at that tower, they weren't going to get to that tower, and that it wasn't a threat, whatever. They should all be fired.
Yeah,
and so should
Put in
she.
jail.
And what's interesting is the media right away reported, right away. I'm talking about Monday. So they gave it a day, but by Monday, they had identified the shooter and claimed he was a lone wolf.
Oh, that.
They came out and said that, like, literally, they were saying the day after the shooting that he was a lone wolf. However, by that time, they had not accessed his cell phone records. They broke into his cell phone on Tuesday, but on Monday, how would you know that this guy acted alone on Monday had you not broken into his cell phone and retrieved the records by Tuesday? You don't have it. His social media was scrubbed. I'm sure they started doing forensic accounting and going through all of his accounts. But they came out right away and said, nope, he's a lone wolf. This was one kid. He did it by himself. It was severe lack of intelligence. It was a failure of the security. But everything else points, and I don't know if this is true or not, but what I have been told was that CNN was live streaming the event that day. I don't know if that's true or not. If any of you are watching and you can provide evidence, please, Rob Show TV, ROBBSHOW TV on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Send me any evidence you have, because according to what I have read, and by I have read, it was text messages from my friend who is arguably in QAnon. But that's fine. We don't need it. Again, I got Frank the maintenance man, and I got Drew in QAnon.
And AutoZone.
I love Drew.
And we've got
Drew.
AutoZone, too. These people are telling me that CNN has never live streamed a Trump rally before, but for some reason they were live streaming Trump's rally on Saturday. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's very interesting. Everything about the shooter seems suspect still, and here we are. We're now 6 days removed from the assassination. I'd like to go around assassination attempt. Thank God that it didn't happen. And I would like to go around and ask all of you one important thing. But before we do, Kelley, you touched on something about being staged. And we talked about this on the last podcast. If this is, in fact, if you're going to get on there and say that this is a staged event, you have to understand that right now you are calling into question and you are criticizing and I guess you're calling into question the credibility of a gunshot victim. Donald Trump is a gun violence survivor. You guys, we can't do that. Alex Jones got deplatformed and sued to the billions for saying that Sandy Hook didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
He could say that, or he's not allowed to say that, but the left can get on and not only claim that this was staged and that this was a stage shooting. First of all, Donald Trump should sue every one of them into the billions.
Yeah.
Now people are mocking him for wearing a bandage on his ear to the RNC. So now you're mocking a gun violence victim? That blows my mind that is even something that we're doing in this country, because from our end, I've never made fun of any of the kids in Sandy Hook, the kids in Columbine, the kids at Uvalde. All of those shootings have been horrific and tragedies. I've never made light of them. But yet, for some reason, the compassionate left sees it as no problem whatsoever to mock and ridicule a gun violence survivor. So I'd like to go around the room and ask all of you before we wrap up today, do you believe that the 20-year-old shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, is a lone wolf, or do you believe that there are more forces at play than what we've been told? Humberto first, Kelley, Connor, and Brandon, you have the last word.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because an assassination attempt is a binary thing. It's either is killed or is not killed. We know that Trump that wasn't killed. We know that a father of 4 firemen was killed in the assassination. We're thinking about this assassination attempt with a mindset of the 60s. We're thinking about a JFK type of assassination. The true questions and the true answers are nowhere near whatever happened that day. They're not a second shooter. They're not someone there. It's not the feds that were there. The true question, true answers for this, they're outside. We're talking about, we live in a world where they don't even need a point of contact with these guys. And I'm not a Fed, but I can tell you how I will do it, okay? First of all, I will start targeting, I will see the data to see how many guys go in there with guns trying to kill Trump. Because I bet they have the data of how many attempts they have or how many guys. Once I have a solid baseline, I know that at least 5 guys will show up with the intention of killing Donald Trump. And then I decide which one I want security to fail. I grab the kids. The kid is local, okay? I worked in marketing before. We can target people to the T. You could target your roommate about one ad. You can have DMs. You can modify their experience online. So you start radicalizing them. You can put them in forums. You can put the right posts. You can make a post like, "Hey, if I was gonna do this, I will go into that roof." You can put it in a local group. So you're gonna have 5 subjects that will do this. You will lax the security in the right spot. And whatever happened there, right now, it doesn't matter. I don't think there was any points of contact there. I don't think there was any connections. And there's very little truth to come out of there. Even if you were there, even if you're an investigator, I think most of the truth that we need to know, and they're using a new technique that I love, how they're doing things. And they've done this for the last 3 or 4 attacks. As soon as the thing happens, they put multiple shooters or multiple possible shooters out. So you divide the people that will investigate who's this guy, who's that guy. You will give them a red herring or 2 red herrings. They will go in different directions. So you have only 1/3 of people that are onto the right guy. And that gives them enough time to wipe whatever they have to wipe. You know, it gives them a lot of lead time to wipe all their social media and digital presence. So in that fog of war, they perfected it to a T. Like you see the mainstream media, how long it took to react. You had for the first official statement, we had 2 hours for the mainstream official statements to come out. Fox News, that always does the Trump rallies and everything, they stayed on close-ups of people there for an hour and a half. You were watching it. I was watching it. So they managed to have everyone distracted for the first hour, 2 hours and a half. Perfect time to wipe everything and clean up any connections, move anything that they had to move. And I think it doesn't matter how many shooters there were there. What it matters is who set the hit. That's the thing that could change the future of this country. And they have us that we have conspiracy tendencies busy on this because it's the obvious thing, because we love the JFK thing, we love this, the landing on Mars and whatever, and we're using all our brain power on this. That is a great distraction. It's fun. It's not fun that this happened, but it's fun to know who did that. Is he a Republican? Is he a Democrat? And whatever. Well, the real dealings, that is whatever happened leading to this thing, we will never know. You know?
So do you discredit the witnesses who claim that they saw multiple shooters that day?
It doesn't matter. Trump is alive.
Okay, my
Kelley?
turn. It does matter because the fact that it was so messed up from start to finish, whether there was 1 shooter, whether there was 2 shooters, it matters because all of it went wrong. If Trump didn't move his head, he's dead. So by some act of God, that's the reason he's alive. Then 99 other things went wrong. The Secret Service and the local police and everyone involved in coordinating that event needs to know exactly what happened so that it doesn't happen again. Because they said, oh, our plan is foolproof. We got this. We didn't do anything wrong. The roof is slammed. Those are excuses. It is shameful. It shouldn't have happened. They need to know every single thing they did wrong if they're going to continue to keep their jobs.
2 minutes left. I want to go to Connor, and then Brandon, you'll have the last word. Connor.
Yeah. So I don't think that there were multiple shooters, only because I don't think that Crooks was a shooter. I don't think he was allowed to fire shots. I think there's a very good possibility the shots came from somewhere else, but we need things like ballistic reports and other things to line that up to actually even be able to understand that. But I do think that Humberto is kind of making a point here. It matters whether there are shooters, or where the shooters were, who they were, how they were involved. But I agree that if there is any kind of cover-up at play here, they're immediately just going to blow chaff out for the media to grab onto.
Chaff.
And I say this to us as a team, as a reminder to myself, to everyone watching at home as well. Be wary of the misinformation they want you to grab onto. There's a thing called limited hangout, where when they can't cover things up anymore, they dangle the most tantalizing piece of information in front of you, so you grab onto that and think it's the whole story. So if there's an incentive for them to get you to grab onto, look, there's a shadow on top of the water tower, was that something else? And then everyone focuses on the water tower, be careful of what they're trying to not have you look at. But I think the facts of the case do not make sense for how this 20-year-old guy acting by himself can get onto the roof of a police staging area with a rifle in broad daylight, not camouflaged at all, in full view of the crowd, the Secret Service, the police, and the video cameras, and then pull this thing off by himself without coordinating with anybody.
Someone got him to do that.
Somebody has to have been involved, and I don't know if, like Humberto said, that's targeted marketing without a direct point of contact, setting him up as a patsy, actually getting him involved in something. These are the facts that are emerging that require additional details. But I think there is a much bigger thing that they don't want us looking at right now, which is why they've put what they have out there so far.
Brandon, final words.
So you guys keep saying, watch out for them trying to mislead you, give you information to to make you go in the wrong direction or distract you, or whatever. Nobody's pushing this information. It's some obscure post on X, which wouldn't be available if Elon Musk didn't buy X. Like, nobody else is pushing this. Like I said, with that clip that somebody recorded on their TV, you haven't seen that clip once since initially after the thing. So the word water tower is not being mentioned on TV at all. And it matters deeply because I can assure you, this kid didn't even know where the hell he was. He was some mentally ill person that they probably like started speaking to in a chat room, or somehow MK Ultra'd him to go and do this attack. And it matters deeply because the person who actually fired off the shots is probably, an actual professional that was far away. And there's like the CIA, when it first started, they were trained by magicians, because the key to magic tricks is to make you focus deeply and captivate you with looking at one thing, and then the magic tricks going on in the place you're not looking. So that's exactly what happens on all these assassination attempts. It's exactly what happens in any CIA operation. Sleight of hand, distract you, look in one direction. Like, there's no other explanation for like the freaking tailgaters are looking at this guy pointing at him. Nobody else is looking in a different direction where the shots were likely to actually come from.
Okay.
Brandon, is he alive or dead? The second shooter.
I would assume.
I don't know. If there was another person dead, I would think that we'd find out about it. But to Brandon's point, when you Google Trump water tower, there's nothing that comes up about a second shooter or
That's the
anything
thing,
like
and
that.
Brendan, I agree. I think saying that it doesn't matter there's a second shooter, it doesn't matter at this point. I think we're in a point of...
But they're pushing off like
You're
lone
right.
Well, I'd love to go again. We can't solve peace in the Middle East. We can't solve separation of church and state, and we definitely ain't going to figure out the JFK assassination or Trump's today. But I would like to say this: there are few and far times in my life where it feels like I'm living in a dream. It's real. I was sitting at my house yesterday, and I was watching the video of Trump. My wife knew that I'd get fixated on this, and she apologized. It was weird. She said, "I'm sorry." After Trump survived the assassination, she goes, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "What do you mean you're sorry?" And she goes, "I know what this is going to do." And I was like, "I don't understand what you're saying." And she goes, "Look at how you deep dive on 9/11. Constantly, I'm reading about 9/11, trying to figure out what exactly happened." She goes, "You're going to do the same thing with this." Yeah. There's few and far times where it feels like you're living in a movie. This is one of those times. It feels surreal to be in this, and maybe that's shock. I don't know what it is, but there's a part of me where the last thing I remember before Trump getting shot was that I was out working outside of my house, digging ditches in my backyard during a heat advisory, and I'm overweight. And I remember not feeling good and laying down in my hammock, and part of me thinks, what if I died? And I'm serious. And this is purgatory for me, is that I'm in some kind of afterlife where none of this is real. And that you guys are, unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me for eternity. And that's why I'm just here at Valuetainment podcasting for the rest of purgatory. But there is this part of me where I look at everything and I go, man, 9/11, when you watch those planes go into those buildings, still 23 years later, there's part of me that goes, that's not real. But it is. And there's part of me that looks at what happened with Trump on Saturday and I go, it's not real. But it is. And so what I'd like to encourage all of you to do is to take what we witnessed on Saturday and use it as a way to prepare yourselves for the future. And that's why you can buy the Valuetainment food buckets at VT.com. I'm just kidding. We're not
we should go. I'm writing an email now.
But I'm serious. Seriously, guys, stock up. Be prepared. One of the things I told my wife was, think of how chaotic things have gotten in the past week. And now look at what happened yesterday, 2 days ago, with Biden saying he's going to step down if he gets sick, and then he gets sick. There's a lot of weird, uncertain things at play here. Take care of yourselves, prepare, make sure you take care of your families, because guys, I'm the only dad here, but I've realized over the past week my role has gone from provider to survivor. I am the one that's going to determine if my family continues to live on if something fucking real happens in the United States of America. Yeah. And I think every father out there needs to look at themselves in the mirror and go, am I no longer a provider, but can I be a survivor? Can I help my family survive? Yes, go ahead.
Say a quick quote.
Yeah.
So there's this quote from Vladimir Lenin that says, there's decades where nothing happens and then weeks where decades happen. So
Wow.
we're in one of those time periods right now where decades are happening in weeks and months.
Yeah, so listen, my wife figured out BJ's, the club. No, she doesn't give those. BJ's, the grocery store. I know, we're wrapping up, Jake. BJ's, the grocery store right now. If you try and go and buy your membership online, it's like $50. But if you call ahead of time and go, hey, we'd like to register, they'll do it for $25. So if you're looking for a half-price deal, BJ's Wholesale Club, call them and stock up today, because if shit gets real, you want to be prepared. That is it for us today. As much as I would like to thank Vinny for joining us, he is not here today, but guess what? Good news. He comes back on Wednesday of next week. So Vinny, in person, the Angry Patriot returns for you, the Unusual Suspects viewer, live Wednesday at 6 p.m. Unless shit gets real this weekend and we do an emergency podcast on Monday, we will be back on Wednesday. For Connor, Brandon, Humberto, Kelley, Jake behind the scenes, Jeremy running everything behind, Andres, and everybody here at Valuetainment, thank you to you, the viewer, for watching us. Make sure you guys click, like, and subscribe so that way you can get notified for future Unusual Suspects episodes. And we will be back live Wednesday night at 6 p.m. with the Angry Patriot, Vincent Oshana. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Peace.